I want you to envision a beautiful desk in a beautiful office. Besides the laptop or the computer, what else do you picture on that desktop? If you're going to say nothing, if you want a completely empty desktop, that's probably the wrong answer if you're like a lot of my clients and you are out of sight, out of mind. If you are the kind of person who does struggle with paper, then you should have a system on your desk to handle that paper because paper inevitably will land on your desk. As a professional organizer of over 23 years, I cannot guarantee that paper will not come into your life. It will. I can't guarantee paper won't land on your desktop. It will. But what I can do is help you create systems to meet that paper, to greet that paper. So you're telling it where to go instead of it just like spreading across the entire desktop. There are a number of systems I like to put on desktops. Sometimes we put one, sometimes we put multiples, sometimes we repeat one or have a variety. But the one I keep returning to over and over again that I love the most, still about 23 years into this work, is the open top file box. Sometimes we use one, sometimes you use many, but it has helped countless clients of mine go from this to this. Today, I will be giving you 4 examples from 4 real life clients' offices and explain to you how they used an open top file box on their desk. How at the end of our work together, that is what they were left with. So maybe you're out of sight, out of mind. Maybe you are ADHD and you don't like using filing cabinets. You don't like file drawers. That is totally fine. When you're afraid to lose something, you end up with everything on the desk, and it just defeats the purpose of keeping things in plain sight. Because then, when you keep everything in plain sight, it is just this cluttered tangle. So, I want you to give yourself permission to replace those piles with systems, not with vast emptiness. I want you to have a system on your desk that holds what is most urgent, what is hottest, what is most active. Maybe those are open projects with deadlines, without deadlines. Maybe it's reference, maybe it's to dos. But I don't want you to have emptiness because that is near impossible to maintain. So, with that, let's hop into the first client example. The picture you are looking at here actually is from my first client. I had my first client in 2001, my first organizing client, but I continue to see him over the years. I don't know when this was, but it was probably within the last decade or so. It's nice that we still get to see each other. And I hadn't seen him for a while. A lot had happened in his life. He had a new career as a contractor. And this was the small former dining table in his apartment. You can see it's right next to his living room, it's right next to his sofa. And surprisingly, it didn't take us a ton of time to clear this desk. But when we did, it looked like this. So take a look at what is on the right of his desk. It's not a completely empty desk because we dropped this open top file box. You probably want to see what's inside. Here are the contents of his file box. So the main problem he came to me with when he and I started working again here was that he wasn't getting his billing done. He had a lot of outstanding invoices that he had sent. He had invoices he hadn't sent. So there was money in those piles. And the most important thing was for him to turn his dining table into a de facto desk. So through some conversation and through paying attention to some of the paper and items that we found on his desk, we came up with these categories. So his box contains a flow, a system related to his career. So they move front to back. An estimate to be done is in the front, works in progress come next, complete jobs to be invoiced are in the middle, and then in the very end, the complete jobs that have been invoiced, or they're just out there and he's waiting for payment, are in the back. So you may be saying, well, that should be digital. That should be a CRM. Like, sure. I mean, that's what I use. Maybe that's what somebody else uses. But you have to keep in mind for my clients and probably you, if you've made it this far, you might still just be a paper person and we have to work with that. So if he's tracking all of this on paper, it is what it is, and we have to give him a paper based solution. And this is one that we were both really excited to see that could help him start getting paid more, start getting paid again. This next one is fun because this was in the back office of a private school. And this is exactly the way it looked when I walked in. She, you'll notice, actually had a couple of file boxes because she had been watching my channel, getting my newsletter, all of that, but she just hadn't taken the time to really think them through. So take a look at this next picture, which is a progress shot. I love sharing progress shots. I really want people to kind of see how the sausage is made because we don't just go from before to after in a minute. And this is the middle of the work we were doing that took us to this. So her final result was actually 5 file boxes, one on her desk that you can see on the right, and she had the luxury of this great countertop, which was an extension of her desk on the left. So let's take a look at what was in the boxes on the countertop on the left. Her to-dos, and notice that the to-dos are also broken out into folders. Her boss, anything pertaining to her boss and like supporting her boss is in the second box. She is the head of facilities. So she described these as hats. These are my 5 hats. When she's working on facilities, obviously that brings forth a lot of reference materials and to-dos. She's got a box just for that. And then just general office management. And then we finish on the right with a box just for events. So hopefully you can see now why she doesn't want these in file cabinets, because throughout the day, throughout the week, she's got to get her hands on all of this. She wears 5 different hats and she's got to, take those off and put them on many times in a day. And she can't be rummaging around. She can't be hiding things for the sake of an empty desk when her life and her days are really active and she has to put her hands on a lot of things without this game of memory. A lot of times when we hide things in file cabinets and file drawers, it becomes a game of memory. And these file boxes take that weight off our minds so we don't forget where we put the things we put away. This next one is in a home office. This is how it looked when I walked through the door. I knew immediately we were going to have a file box. You can see in the background I had brought one in my car. So in her case, most of what was landing on the desk was mail, unopened mail. Most of that was statements. And again, you may be thinking, well, who gets statements anymore? Can't you digitize those? Shouldn't you be getting those electronically? Sure. I mean, I do. I can't remember the last time I had a statement come into my home, but that's not necessarily normal. That's not everybody's life. And I'll say this, there are people of all ages who are still heavy paper people. This is not just something that is unique to people of a certain age. I've worked with people in their 20s who are, again, maybe ADHD, out of sight, out of mind, and they just like the tactile thing about paper. They like to be able to put their hands on things to know what they've got going on in their life. So let's take a look at the final result. Here is the box, and we were very specific in creating categories born out of what was landing on her desk, which in her case were statements. So it's fun that this is dating me here. This is a system I created in 2016. So we're taking a closer look now. And this tells us exactly the type of documents that were the piled up problem on her desk, because now we have, meticulously separated those out here, right? We've got banking, we've got credit cards, phone, some medical in the back. And notice in this situation, I did something I do with a lot of labels, which is I date them, because in her case, if we didn't date them, 2020 could roll around and these folders could have 4 or 5 years worth of paper. If you put dates on your labels, it is a little bit of insurance that the contents stay within that year. then you don't get lazy at the end and one folder holds 4 years instead of one. So this was her current year box. Her box on her desk holds things that she is pretty much adding to every month. That's not a hard and fast rule, but if it's coming in the mail about once a month, it deserves a place in her file box. So I want to finish up with the photo that I shared in the very beginning. This before, of course, was not just paper. This was right near the front door, so it was kind of a dumping ground for all sorts of things that came into the house. But she was very clear that she was turning over a new leaf and specific about how she needed this desk to function. So did we leave it totally empty like this, as beautiful as it is? No, because we knew this was a problem waiting to happen. So instead of leaving it empty like this, we dropped this file box on top, okay? In her file box, I'm just trying to zoom in here. There we go. We put a little index sticky on the front, professional, education, medical, financial. So what we did was we looked at the paper from that mountain and just got really honest about the mail and the paper that was being dropped on that desk and dropped around the front door, and created a solution for that paper where the problem formerly existed. So I would so much rather see you have an open top file box on your desk, or we've seen 4 open top file boxes on a desk. If it works for you, go ahead and multiply it. I'd rather you have boxes and systems on your surfaces than emptiness, because that is just a goal not worth striving for. The kind of person who I work with is somebody who just needs something realistic. They're not necessarily striving for the cover of a magazine. And we need functionality. We need it to work more than we need it to look pristine. And in giving yourself solutions that work, you can keep the rest of it pristine. If you've made it this far, thank you. And you may be wishing you could see more case studies of file boxes on real people's desks and real offices. And I'm going to link for you below 2 videos that I did that are these case studies back from like 2014, 2015, I think, when I was in offices and I just in that moment created file boxes. And then I take you on 2 tours from 2 offices where we take a peek into their specific file boxes, and I can tell a deeper story about why we set those systems up for those folks. So I really hope this gives you an abundance of ideas. Maybe you have a file box that you can use. Maybe you have some that are neglected. Maybe this breathes new life into an existing desktop system that you have. I'm also linking below to a resource or 2 where you can buy these file boxes. I typically buy them on Amazon and Container Store. So with that, leave a comment if you think this is helpful. Leave a comment if you are already using file boxes with any degree of success. Let me know if you're going to go ahead with the file box system, some of the categories. Again, I'm a consultant. I talk for a living. I hear people's problems. I give ideas. So I want to recreate that in the comment section below. So I really want to hear what's on your mind and what you're going to do with this advice. So please like this video if you found it helpful, and please subscribe if you want more real live ideas like this, because I've got more coming. If you go back into my history, I've got about 100 videos from past years with similar stories. I appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.